Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. I have got a treat for you today. Very excited about today's guest. I'm going to bring him on in just a minute. I do want to thank Scott Frassard over at Forever Home Running for facilitating having this guest on today. He was able to hook this thing up, and I want to just shout out to Scott and say thank you so much for being my talent scout. Love it. But we're going to bring our guest on in just a minute. Today's episode is brought to you by Ascension Multisport. It is Nick Cumbo over at Ascension. He's put together our Couch to 5K program. He's helping us out greatly with the Ordinary Marathon. He's already given away 3 months of free coaching to one of our registrants already. Mary Countryman won that one, and she'll be working with Coach Laura Stebbins over at Ascension to reach whatever her goals are by the time the Ordinary Marathon starts. So I want to thank Nick for getting involved there. As always, you can find this and the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. Check it out if you get a chance. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, of course. If you like the show, hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a new episode that way. We're also posting these podcasts over on YouTube these days. You can find them at the Ordinary Marathoner channel, where you also find things like, we got some videos from the Ordinary Marathon. We've got, and Stephanie's Couch to 5K program. She is on week 7. She is killing it. She is doing amazing. And just a week by week show that she's kind of been putting together, working really hard on that. So check that out if you get a chance. And if you are thinking about getting up off the couch yourself and getting running, I think it's a good tool. It's a good tool to use, and got everything right there at your fingertips. And you can see how she's been doing it, and then you can try to adjust it for yourself. It's a great tool, great thing she's doing. You can find our discussion group, Ordinary Marathoners, on Facebook. Check that out. Add yourself to the group. It is a closed group, so we got to approve you, but we approve you right away. We'll put you through right away, and join the discussion over there. I got a really supportive group over there. A lot of things going on, and you can also find me over on Twitter at Ord Marathoner. That's ORD Marathoner. Follow me there. I will follow you back. And one last thing. Oh, the Ordinary Marathon, our virtual race, 10-day virtual race, starting in late April, going to May 5th. And it's all for a good cause. It's all going towards the SAM Fund, which is a charity that's near and dear to our hearts that helps out young adults who are dealing with cancer. Very noble charity. We know where all the money's going, and we know it's going to a good cause. So, love being involved with this organization. Registration opened in early January, and we are looking for some more people to join us. We have, obviously the 10-day virtual event. The final day of the event is going to be a 5K, and you can participate in the 5K either virtually or you can do it in person in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. We have, a bunch, hopefully a bunch of people. I think right now I'm saying a bunch of people. I think we have 5, but hopefully we get more than 5. It'll be a lonely race. I might win. Probably not. Let's be honest. Probably not. Ironman training is in full swing. And with that, I want to bring in our guest for today. He is from San Diego, California. He is the voice of Ironman himself. Mike Reilly, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I got to tell you, I am honored. I am honored that we've actually met before, but very briefly. It was just a passing glimpse. You might have said my name.
Where was that at? Where did we meet?
That was 2017 Lake Placid. I trained a lot. I trained about a year for that race. I met a guy out on the marathon portion, and we ran together, and we were looking around and we're like, all right, we want to savor our moment here at the finish line. So we spaced each other out, and I went first. And I came around that corner, and then some guy that we didn't see just sprinted right by me and started doing push-ups in front of me. And, but you still caught my name. He tried to get the attention, but you still caught my name, and you actually pronounced it correctly, which is hard to do. Scott Ricky, you actually, you said you are an Ironman. One of the greatest moments of my life.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't, like in the bathroom, as most people will tell me that's where I was, just because if they didn't hear their name, from me. Of all the people that have said that to me, oh my God, I must be going to the bathroom every 15 minutes. But no, you always hear about those.
Yeah,
I'm glad I got you.
It is first of all, let's take a step back, I guess, because, my audience is typically a lot of runners. There are a lot of triathletes, but a lot of runners as well. And they might not know. So, what does it mean, if you can? And I would define it for them, but it would be so much better coming from you. What would you say it means to be the voice of Ironman?
Well, I don't know if I've ever been asked what it means.
Well, just define it loosely, and then you can kind of get into it sort of in depth.
I know what it does. It inspires and motivates me with every finisher. It's something, and I've announced a lot of marathons through the years, half marathons, 5Ks, Spartan races. I've been on the microphone with a lot of stuff over the last 40 years. But what it means to me to be able to be at that finish line for an Ironman race, because of like a lot of things, the intense training that's got to go into it, the commitment you make, this family and personal and friend sacrifices you make. So when someone's coming in after 140.6 miles, I consider it an honor to be able to add a little more to their day that could be, for a lot of people, the best day of their lives. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't believe that they can do it. And then all of a sudden, whether it's a year or 2 years or 3 years down the line, they get to a Ironman finish line. To be able to be there, to be able to call them in, it's an honor. It's something that I cherish and I will never, ever take for granted.
Yeah, and it comes across as that, because I know, I was also at Ironman last year. I participated, but I didn't finish, so we didn't get a chance to meet. I DNF'd after one loop on the bike. But I will be coming back next year, so we're going to have
all right.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing each, and I'm not DNFing next year. I don't care. But anyway, so yeah, we'll have a chance to meet again. And I guess, it does from a competitor's standpoint, having you announce the name, it's become it's taken a life of itself in a way. So, I mean, how did you get this gig? How did you get this gig, and how did you watch it sort of transform and kind of morph into this? Part of the experience for me was and we don't know each other, but part of the experience for me was to have you say my name, call me an Ironman. How did it get such a sort of ethereal you know what I mean? Like, how did it become so magical?
That's a good question. I think, when we go through things in our lives that beat us down and break us up and stop us, and then we get to the other side, those things go away, but the effort and what you learn from it don't. And so many times that I write a lot in my book about stories of people who failed the first time at an Ironman and came back. It's a forgiving distance, because even as hard as it seems to be able to heal people. So I'm not only telling someone that they're an Ironman, it's not an endorsement of what they did that day. It's a certification of what they become. It's kind of the last step of a rite of the passage that, changes you forever and stamps you as special. So that call is special. The words are special. And, the gratification of doing an immensely difficult task, of getting it done, not everybody gets to experience that. So it has taken a life of its own, because it's not just a call. I actually wrote this, and when I did, it hit me. And all these years I've been doing it, I never thought it this way, but doing an Ironman race is your initiation. You are an Ironman, you're swearing in.
Yeah.
It completes you. It completes a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a long process to be. I think for a lot of people out there, training for these things is no joke. It is, multiple months, if not years, like you said, for some people. And you make a good point that it is it's kind of like the finale. It's the final point, and to have you, and your attitude, I think, about it is the right way. And I read, if you guys, Mike just mentioned his book. It's called Finding My Voice. It's going to be out in a month or two, I think. And there's an excerpt on your webpage, MikeReilly.net, that I read just recently. And it's like, you do a very good job of sort of pushing on, even though, and I think this is part of the magic, and I'm going to just answer my own question here a little bit. you do such a good job of pushing the attention on the athlete and taking it off of yourself that I think it's helped make it even more special. I mean, people look for races that you're announcing now, right? It's like a big thing every year. Where's Mike going to be?
I know.
So I think, go ahead.
I'm not, you say that like, it's interesting because it's all about the athletes for me. I'm not the warrior. I'm the heralder. I'm the one making sure that their family and their friends, they're physically at the race site or listening and watching online, get to hear what their loved one is. And it's just not the athletes. All of a sudden, I could make that call to, Jimmy Brown from Tucson, and all of a sudden, it affects 40 or 45 or 50 people in his life. It affects maybe his 7-year-old and his 9-year-old who, oh my gosh, my daddy's an Ironman or my mommy's an Ironman. And that is something that just keeps giving. So I look at it as it's not about me. You'll very seldom hear me say the words I and me on race day. 17 hours. They just don't, there's no reason for them to come out of my mouth because I don't want the attention to be on me. I want the attention to be someplace else. And we all know where that is at.
Yeah, and you do a great job with that. And I will say, you take the attention so much off of yourself, but on race day, I mean, the first finishers probably come in, what did they do in Kona this year? Like 8 hours?
Yeah, nowadays I go, oh my gosh, we got it. Who knows? They could come in at 2:00 for God's sakes. It's like sooner every year.
So you think about it, like you have to stand there, so say from 2:00 to midnight. And now you're talking constantly, right? Talking constantly. I actually got a story about that too. But you're talking. So I'm assuming you're drinking crazy amounts of water just to kind of keep up your voice. And then you have to avoid the bathroom. So there is some endurance to what you do. I think you have to probably prepare in different ways.
It's almost like a science. It's like I go on the edge of hydration because I don't want to drink too much or I'm running away and, going to the porta potty. So I'm actually on the edge of dehydration. I know where that's at. It's like that long 80-mile ride I'll do and go, all right, I just need to get a sip or two and I'll be okay. And it's the same on race day. Some days it's interesting. I won't have to go to the bathroom and I'm drinking all day. Other days, it just depends on what's in the system. But I don't like taking breaks. And when I'm off the microphone, they go, oh, you took a break. No, it wasn't a break. It was a break, but it wasn't a break. I wasn't sitting somewhere putting my legs up.
It was an emergency.
Yeah, kind of had to.
You had to go. So I actually wound up doing Ironman Maryland the same in 2017, and you weren't there. And I do have to say that even though there was someone there to announce my name, it did somewhat, it didn't take away from the finish and everything that that I put into it, but it definitely takes away. It felt like it took away, and not to demean the person who was doing it, but it took away a little. But now it's so many Ironman races. And so, I mean, when you started this thing, how many races were there? How many races did you announce?
Well, I think one year I did them all, but because there was only Kona, New Zealand is the second oldest, Australia and Canada. So there was, and then there was Frankfurt. Yeah, there was Frankfurt or Roth, which is now a Challenger race. So there was only 4 or 5. Now, there's like 41 and people go, oh, see you. And no, I can't get to them all. It's not physically possible. So I pushed out 12 of them last year, which is about the max I can do just because some months there's 2 of them and then the travel involved. And, but it's I don't know. It gets easier every year. It seems like it's weird.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the week I did Maryland, there was another Ironman in another city. I forget which one, and you were there, so it wasn't like you were taking the week off or anything like that. But you mentioned New Zealand, and so and you're going to be going there soon, right? That's.
I leave this Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you said it was the second longest Ironman. How long have they been doing that one?
We're celebrating the 35th anniversary down there on March. The race date is March 2nd. 35 years down there at New Zealand, and it's incredible.
That's a nice little trip for you every year too, huh? It's got to be a great little trip.
Yeah, this is like these. I got to count it, 17th or 18th year in a row. I've done Australia over 20 times, so it going down under is the beginning of the season down there.
Yep.
I mean the end of the season down there and the beginning of our season. So New Zealand gets me warmed up for the rest of the year. That's for sure.
That's great. That's great. And so I'm assuming you're going to be in Lake Placid. Have you done Lake Placid? Almost pretty.
I've never missed Lake Placid, and I never will.
Yeah. Is that what? Now, what makes that one special for you?
Well, being the first one in North America in 1999, besides, you should say in U.S. because Canada was in existence then, and the first time we put on a U.S. full distance Ironman, and to be able to be a part of that was just, I don't know, it was very special, and it's like going home. It's like going on vacation for me to Lake Placid. The Adirondacks are beautiful. The people up there are so welcoming, and the East Coast contingent, I never really knew how passionate they were for triathlon until I started going to Lake Placid. And by the third or fourth year of Lake Placid, all the tri clubs started coming up. They started growing. And now it's like old home week. I just absolutely can't wait to always get back there.
Yeah, it's a great town. It's like it's like a little hideaway. And then you get there on race weekend, and it's just, and you tell me, it's probably, Ironman probably makes it special, because it was special when I did Maryland too. It's just, the whole weekend is just, it's centered around the race, and whether you're a participant, or you're a volunteer, or you're just, a spectator and you have family in it, or, just spectating anyway, we wound up lucking into a hotel that's right near the transition area, the first year I did it. And now it's like, I don't want to, I even if I don't train, I'd want to go just to watch the race and be a part of it. I mean, you find that a lot. Like, people just want to be, like, they almost get addicted. It's like, it's such a great weekend. I don't want to miss it.
I think people would rather miss Christmas than Lake Placid, some of them. It becomes an issue where it's part of their psyche. It's part of their year. And so many people go up there with their families. I love seeing the kids out there. The Iron Kids race is one of the largest ones in the world. And it just so is family centric that it is. It's like you're on a vacation with all your best friends. And that community somehow just takes care of you. It's always hard to put into words about Lake Placid, but when I get there, I take a deep breath and go, I'm home. Yeah, I'm in another home. This is great.
The air is like, the air just smells different up there. And, like you said, the whole weekend is just, it's just an experience. And, I recommend it for anyone, even if you don't participate and you just want to watch. It's just, I don't know, it's an incredible event. And we had my daughter who, she would just turn 9. She'll be 10 next year for it. So she came up last year. She didn't see me finish 2 years ago. Just because we thought it was a long day. I knew it was going to be a long day, and having her walk around all day and get tired, I thought it would be a little too much for her. But last year we brought her up, and of course I DNF'd. So this year, I am training, and I'm going to finish the race for her. And I'm assuming that you hear kind of stories like that all the time. Like, people who are just motivated or inspired, to do, to accomplish this, whether it be for themselves in a way or for others. How does that kind of factor into your experience? When, how close do you get to some of these stories with people finishing and what it means to them?
I get very close to them. When I'll see somebody that I've called an Ironman and they remind me of their story or what they went through, a lot of times I remember it. And obviously some are pretty tragic stories during their life where they came out of it and all of a sudden they finished an Ironman, and the Ironman was the healing point for them, that they know they're back. So the stories, and the other part of it is, Scott, think about it. I'm bringing people in and I don't know all their backstories. That's why I want to have a one-on-one personal conversation with them at that finish line, because something could click for them. It could, what I say could be something that sends them on for the rest of their life in a successful way. So it's so binding. It's just so binding that sometimes I can't believe it's happening. But each and every finisher has a backstory, and a lot of people have gone through some tough struggles. It's funny. I tell people, if you go 140.6 miles and beat yourself up, it could heal you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. That's kind of a strange way to put it, but, certainly a poignant statement. Like, it certainly makes sense. I mean, that is a long day for some people, it is. I think I finished in 15:55 or something like that. And, it's a long day out there, and to come in, and the funny,
you know what though, it's a great, I call it. People go, "Man, Mike, how can you do that all day? It's a long day." I go, "Nah, it's a great long day, and it's going to go by in a flash." And you and I are sitting here talking about 2017 on your long day, but you're still talking about it, and even though that was a long day and it was a tough day, it was a hard day. It's one of the best memories you hold, besides the birth of your children. Yeah. So think about it. It's something that is cherished, and even though it's a long day, some people say I want to take all 17 hours because I never want it to end, and some obviously do.
Get your money's worth, right?
Yeah.
Got to get as much of that aid station, as much of the aid station food. Plus, if you stay, what is it? When it gets dark, they have like extra. Oh, it's the chicken broth, right?
Oh yeah,
they come out with the chicken broth, and so you don't want to. If you finish too early, you miss the chicken broth, and I think that's half the treat. I think, yeah, but so and I would say for Lake Placid, I think after I DNF last year, I sat there with my daughter. We were watching people come through, and we were watching you announce them, and there was a bit of a crowd there, but it gets crazier and crazier as the day goes on, and as it approaches midnight. It's almost the craziest time of the whole thing. So for those of you guys that are listening and don't know, there's a time cutoff for Ironman where you need to make it in 17 hours, or else, you're by definition, I guess you're not a real Ironman. Is that kind of the way it works, Mike? Actually, that was one of the questions I want to ask you. Let me ask you this way: how do you decide? Now, since we have like this rolling start and it's all done by chip, how do you decide when you're going to cut it? Is it a difficult decision? When do you cut it off at midnight? Because everyone starts at 7 a.m. So, right. So it's a 17-hour window. How do you cut it off where, all right, this person's an Ironman, but then the next person that comes in is not?
Well, the way it works on the rolling start is the last swimmer into the water. That's where the 17-hour mark starts for me on how long I'm going to go. So that could be 12:07 p.m. That could be 12:15. That could be 12:01. So that's what I'm going to. So everybody that comes in underneath that time, I'm calling an Ironman. Once we go past that 17-hour mark officially in the race, I may be there for if there's one real close, and I'll bring them in and congratulate them. Between you and me, sometimes I whisper in their ear they're an Ironman. But I don't say it out loud just because there's official cutoffs. There's official cutoff for the swim. If they don't get out of the water in 2 hours, 20 minutes, their day's done. The same with the bike. They got to be off at the 10.5-hour mark. And it's for safety standards. I mean, we just can't have the volunteers and crews being out there, till 2, 3 in the morning. So that's how it works for me. I call everybody an Ironman that comes across that finish line after that 17-hour mark of the last swimmer in the water.
So then theoretically, and I guess this would be the hard part, is you could theoretically cross that finish line, have your name called, and then find out the next day that you were 17:01, and that technically speaking, you're not an Ironman. Is that right or no?
Well, that's not for me to even care about.
All right, you know, right. Okay.
I bring them in. I take care of them. I call them what I believe they are, according to the time clock. If they're a few clicks over that, so be it. So what?
I agree with you. And
I have to have my cutoff.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that probably even more damaging would be if that last person in the swim finished under 17 and you weren't, and you didn't call them out as an Ironman. That would be devastating in its own right. So I think that the policy is in the right place, and I think certainly your head is in the right place in terms of how you treat that situation, because I remember going into, and they didn't always do this kind of rolling start, right? It used to be like a big mass start in the beginning, right? So there was a hard stop for you at midnight. So it was like,
oh yeah, it was 12 hours and 1 second, the day was done. Oh. And with those races, it was Lake Placid.
Yeah.
What was the guy's name? George Yoda from Long Beach. I bet you this was in the early 90s. That dude came and around the corner, and I was screaming. I swear I thought I hurt my voice because we were just going insane because he was so close. And when he stepped on the finish line, the clock clicked at 17 hours at midnight. Well, I didn't know it was official because you just never know the timing. I looked over at the timers and he goes, "Oh my gosh, you made it by 5/100ths of a second before the 17-hour mark."
Wow.
And so I've had them that close and at that midnight hour. But yeah, when you start them at 7 a.m., it's very easy to go just 17 straight hours.
Yeah. I mean, and you think about the people who win the event, and typically, let me ask you this: have you ever had like a winner? Like where it comes down, so like Lake Placid, you go around the speed skating oval there, like where the two finishers are like just vying for like sprinting and trying to like battle each other. It seems to me most years there's significant space between, say, the winner and second place. Have you ever had like a photo finish or a really close finish down that finish line?
I've never had for the pros, I've never had a photo finish. Obviously, we've had some age groupers that fly across together, but I don't know all the time if they're the same age. I'm too busy calling them. Yeah. I'm not going to look, oh, that one's 35, that's 45, so it didn't make any difference. But I've had, looking down Ironman Australia, I'll never forget seeing Peter Reed and Chris Lee coming, and they were together all day, just like Mark and Dave were in 1989 at the Iron War. And Peter Reed from Canada and Chris Lee from Australia. So the Aussies were absolutely insane to have an Aussie win that race, their home country race. And about 70 yards from me, Peter put on a sprint, and it just broke Chris. And think about it, they were flying anyway. And he just made that one step ahead and broke Chris and came across the line. And that was the closest that I'd been involved with at the finish line. I would love to see like two or three guys or two or three gals coming down a Lee drive together, and I got to stand right there to see which one broke the tape first. But 140.6 miles, the odds of that happening are not that great.
Now, the popularity of the sport in general, I think over the last few years has grown immensely. And I have vivid memories of being like a kid and seeing, they would be like the wide world of sports or whatever, and they would show pictures of the Ironman, and they would do. How long have they been doing the broadcast? I know that they don't really. I guess the last few years they've been doing a little like a Facebook or something with the live broadcast, but they usually, because it's such a long event, they usually give us like that half hour, 1 hour show a couple weeks after, right?
Yeah, I think the first time I saw it, my gosh, Bruce Dern, who's an actor, old time actor now. His daughter's Laura Dern, a very good actress, and he actually emceed it. I think it was 83 or 84 for a while. That's kind of the first time I saw it. Remember, I was living in San Diego with the likes of Scott Tinley and Paula and Newbie Frazier and Mark Allen, going on rides and training, and they all would be trekking to Kona during the 80s. And so we knew all about Ironman, obviously, here in San Diego because we were so ingrained with triathlon. But that was the first that was on TV, and then it's been on ever since. We're doing the Facebook Live now, where it's a live broadcast, which is very cool because you see everything happening live. And I know there was millions of followers at Kona for Kona last year watching it live. And
so, I guess, and things are just, they're building and building. It seems like every year it gets more and more popular. And I think one of the things I really love about the sport is like, for example, I don't know where he finished, but I know like Andy Potts was probably top 10 last year. And he raced Lake Placid in 2017, which was the same race that I'm in. So like you look at other sports like baseball, basketball, like I'm never going to play 5-on-5 with LeBron James, but I technically raced Andy Potts, which I think is super cool that, that just us normal people can.
On the same course.
On the same course. Yeah.
We're not ever going to be at the home plate at Dodger Stadium trying to hit a fastball. We're not going to be running down the Meadowlands to try to score a touchdown. It's just, and everybody watching that is not going to be there. But us, we can go to Lake Placid, we can go to Chattanooga, we can go to Frankfurt, we can go to Austria, we can go to Ironman Hawaii and toe that same start line that those pros are on, and go through the same undulations in the road and the hills, and go through the same aid stations and take the same water and Gatorade that the pros did. and go to the same finish line. That's nowhere in the world is that like that for any sport, not in cycling, not in running. Running it is with the marathoners, which is great, and half marathons. But something about that Ironman course of being able to go over that 140.6 miles with the pros is special.
Which begs the question, and I actually asked this. I don't know. I think you were interviewed Triathlon Taran. You ever met Taran?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So he's interviewed before. So I had him on the podcast, and my question to him was, do you ever, given what we just discussed, and that we can hang out with the pros, and that you see just the excitement and the popularity of the sport build and build and build. Is it possible that one day triathlon becomes more of a mainstream sport, and maybe not like a basketball, football, hockey, baseball kind of thing, but is it possible that one day, we can say, I don't have to explain who Andy Potts is when I mention him in my interview. I can just say Andy Potts and everyone will know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's, I think that's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I think that our sport is a major sport for all of us that are involved in it. I think it's discounted. A lot of pros are well known by a lot of people, but the way Ironman has built that brand, if I'm traveling to an airport and I've got an Ironman backpack, everybody will say, "So did you do an Ironman?" and people know what it is. They may not know the distances. It's funny, the third or fourth page of my book is I go through the distances for everybody in both miles and kilometers, so they realize what I'm talking about if it's a non-Ironman or non-triathlete person reading the book. And I only do that for clarification, but a lot of people will look at those distances and go, I can't believe this. Are you kidding me? Brian Boyle, who is a good story in my book out of Baltimore. And Brian, he was crushed by a car after swim practice right out of high school and died like 9 times on the table and the whole deal. Well, when he was coming back, he said to his dad, he goes, "Dad, he wasn't even walking with a walker yet. He said, "Dad, I think I want to do an Ironman." Dad said, "Sure, son, you can do an Ironman. What's an Ironman?" Dad told him, and his son told him, and Dad thought to himself, "My kid, I just want him to be able to walk without a walker, but I'm not going to crush his dreams of wanting to be an Ironman." And then the dad had the comment, I think he's wrong. I don't think anybody can do those distances. So it becomes, the distances are tough, and Ironman is tough. But I've called personally myself over 400,000 people in Ironman.
Wow. And
we've had millions come across finish lines, and of people who you wouldn't even think would be able to live to the next day, but it happens. And that's why I want I want all the runners obviously to read a lot of triathletes come from the running world, but I want anybody to be able to read this book. Where the book's really going to do, Scott, for the family member or the spouse who cannot believe what the hell their loved one is doing. If they hand him my book or her my book and they read it, they're going to go, "This is what Ironman is?
Yeah.
This is who these people are." They will be transformed. I can almost guarantee it. They'll be transformed.
Yeah,
They'll be believers.
And that's a good point you make, is that, behind every person that crosses that line, Iron Man, Iron Woman, whatever they are, there's always a supportive family behind that person, because you can't train for something like this without a support system. And I have a great one here. And you just, like you said, you multiply one finisher by, on average, multiple people, 4 or 5 people at least that have to support them, and be behind them. And it affects, every race affects a lot of people. So where you may have announced 400,000 people, the amount of people that's actually affected is way greater, I would say, than that. But yeah, so you mentioned the book, and I do, I've seen you speak at these events before, and you definitely have a good storytelling. You've been doing this a while, so you had a lot of stories to tell, and you have that, that good storytelling, demeanor, I would say. So what?
Yeah, I know. You want to say it. I'm Irish and full of what.
No, man, you're good. Sometimes I'm like, what's he going to talk about? It's like, oh, they're like a pregame thing, or there's a pre-race thing that we should go down there. And I'm like, I don't want to bother. What are they going to do? And then I passed it in Lake Placid last year, and you were talking, and we just stopped, and we were there for like 15 minutes before I was like, wow, this was kind of cool. Like, I wish we would have made this whole thing. You had people coming up, you're asking them questions. It was, Yeah, I mean, but I guess when you talk for a living, that's, maybe the Irish has something to do with it too. I don't know. So, I mean, did you finish the whole book? Is it all done? Is it just going to print? What are we waiting for? It's done.
It's done. There's a few more photos that'll be in the book that I'm looking for the photographer to give him credit, give them credit. It's funny. I found something today. It's just never done editing. I've had professional editors look at it. A lot of other people look at it. My writer look at it. I mean, and you just find stuff. I think I found a sentence today without a period at the end of it. But when you've got 80,000 words, you just, I'm too close to it. But yeah, it's done. The goal is to have it out mid-March. My first big signing will be at Race Mania in Boston, March 24th.
Oh, we're going to be going to that.
I'll be there with a big booth, and I'm doing a talk. I think, I'm speaking before Des Linden. Yep. I said, thanks, Mark. I don't want to follow her because that'd be a tough follow.
In Boston, especially.
I'll speak before Des, and she's a San Diego girl, so we got some binds together here. And then I'll sit in the booth and sign away.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely, we have that on the calendar, so we're going to be there.
Great.
We don't have a booth or nothing. We're just going to kind of go around and shake hands and meet people and enjoy the day out there. So anyway, we'll recap it here. So the book is called Finding My Voice, and you can find an excerpt of the book at mikereilly.net. And I gotta say, you hooked me. I signed up for the pre-order. I signed up, I'm good to go. And I hit you up for a freebie. We're going to be giving out a copy of Mike's book for the Ordinary Marathon, this year. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, good. Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. I just kind of rewrote something a few weeks ago, and it's kind of towards the end of the book. And if you indulge, I'll read it because you mentioned at the onset about, people who may not know the world of triathlon or Ironman. But I talk about doing the race binds people in a way you hardly see anywhere else. People like, Heinz Ward and Tony Kanaan and Indy 500 champ and Apollo Ono and, actor Sean Astin, all these people come to this world and are just enamored by it. And it kind of, it changed my focus on how I wanted to address people, because that kind of attitude is not what got them where they are. They wanted to continue. And so they're always looking for the next mountain to climb, and the lure of Ironman's irresistible. So me watching them tackle it, something that was incredibly hard for them is inspirational. And it actually led me to shape the book in a certain way. Originally, I just wanted to address, myself, the people inside the Ironman community, but seeing the fascination that people have from other walks of life, and how motivating and healing it can be for them convinced me that the lessons to be learned are universal. And so hopefully people pick it up and go, gosh, I'm not going to do it. And it's okay if they don't do an Ironman. I'm not telling people, hey, you got to do an Ironman or you're not a complete person. It's no way am I talking about that at all. And I'm not trying to teach lessons here. The lessons come from the stories you read about people. You'll pull your own lessons out of what you should do with your own life. Whether you're an Ironman athlete, you run a couple 5Ks a month, or you'll walk around the block with your partner. It doesn't need to be an Ironman. It's just, that's my mountain. That's my world. So that's what I base it all off of. And I had one person who was a good friend read it. I had him pre-read it, and his last Ironman was 9 years ago. As soon as he got done with it, he goes, damn you, Reilly. I've got to do another one. Dad, he had a few choice words. How dare you? I go, that wasn't my intent. He goes, you know what? It got me. I gotta, what's available this year? That's what he said. I go, okay, well, welcome back.
That's awesome. And I got to tell you, there's something about, once you taste it, I never thought I could run a marathon. And then I trained for it in 1 year and I did it. And then I kind of dragged my feet and I was like, all right, I'll just keep doing more marathons. I was never improving. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, you know what? And I think I saw there's a video out there. It's called Anything is Possible by Ironman on YouTube. And it grabbed me and it just was like, I want to do that. and similar to what you were just saying, like where the guy read your book, and who better to tell the story than someone like you who's been to so many of these races and sees it firsthand. I mean, the power, even the excerpt, by the way, that you have on your page. I don't want to ruin it, but there is certainly like one moment in there, and I think you probably know what I'm talking about, but where, I mean, tears almost come to your eyes, and when you realize that you can be part. You don't have to just sit and read the book. Like, you can be part of that. And whether you're part of it at a full Ironman or a 70.3 or even just volunteering at something like this, just to be a part and taste it, those videos and certainly the excerpt that I read in the book, it makes it seem worth it. It makes it seem just because you want to just taste it and be a part in any way possible. So, and like I said, what better person than you to tell the story?
My son said to me a few years ago, this book's been in my head for a lot of years, probably 15, 20 years, but Ironman's always been a never-ending great story for me. So I didn't know kind of where to begin or not even thinking about the ending. And then a couple of years ago, I got to bear down. There's just too much I've got written down. There's just too much going on. And I was talking, my son Andy does my marketing, and he's got his own event management marketing company. And so he's doing a lot of promotion for me and set up the website. And he goes, you know what, Dad, you got to get this done. You've been in the front row of the arena at whether it's the NBA championship or the Super Bowl, Kona. You've been in the front row and nobody's in the front row with you. You just got to tell them what you're seeing. Yeah. And I go, yeah, you're right. And, it took a 31-year-old to open me up and know. And probably the biggest reason I wrote this book, besides having it within my family, is that it's inspired me and motivated me all these years of the things I've seen. And I think it'd be selfish of me not to pass it on.
Yeah.
I wish every story I've ever seen and been a part of could be in the book, but it just can't. So maybe I'll do another one, but not for a while. This was tough.
So, which begs the question, though, after witnessing all of these events and being part of all these, I mean, did you ever get the itch to participate?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my friends say, because especially during the summer when I got buddies that are training for an Ironman, I'm right there with them. I'm training. Yeah. And they go, God dang it, Reilly, you're ready to go. And I go, yeah, but guess what? I don't have to do the race. I'll be on the microphone. It's sure, one day maybe I'll do an Ironman. And I think it's actually better that I haven't. I'm still so enamored by what I see. I'm still this fan out there of seeing someone like you come across the finish line and seeing the look on your face, or catching your wife in the crowd and seeing the look on her face. Why would I be out there doing the race? I got to be where I'm at. That's what I was born for.
I tell you, if you ever did one, I think it'd be like a huge event. It would be like, and you were saying before, how you walk through the airport and you have like an Ironman bag. I would think that you have to be the only one on earth who can like carry around an Ironman label bag and not have finished one, but not like, I remember carrying around my bag and I was training for it, and I would have to, I'm training for it. I haven't done, there was like, because I hadn't earned it yet, But you're like you've earned it.
It's funny. I put this on. This was the beginning of the summer. It was this summer. I posted it because it was so funny. I was out for a ride by myself here in San Diego. I was wearing an Ironman. I think I had an Ironman Arizona kit. I'll get if it's a cool looking kit, I always get the kit, and that's what I ride in. I ride in Ironman gear. Well, I haven't done an Ironman. So this dude pulls up next to me. He kind of goes flying by, and I go, "Hey, how you doing?" And he had some Ironman thing on. I go, "Hey, did you do an Ironman?" He goes, "Yeah." "Did you do it?" I go, "No." And he goes, "Well, how can you be wearing that?" And he starts giving me a hard time. And so we're kind of riding together. Then he pulls in front, and we're kind of riding the same speed. We're on the coast road here in San Diego, and he kind of comes back, and "So you didn't do that race?" I go, "No, I just worked it." And he goes, "Oh, what do you do?" And I go, "Well, I announced the race." And he almost fell off his bike. He goes, "Oh my God, you're Mike Reilly. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean it. You can wear whatever you want. I'm sorry. The whole deal." And he goes, "You won't tell anybody, will you?" I go, "Well, I don't know your name. Don't tell me your name or I will." So it is funny where people, say, "Well, Mike, you can wear whatever you want, even though you've never done an Ironman."
So lastly, I want to bring up the story of my friend Dave. my friend Dave lives in Lake Placid. He actually runs a hockey store that's across the street from the oval, from the speed skating oval called Lake Placid Hockey Depot, which has since closed, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So, a lot of the locals, when Ironman comes to town, they rent out their houses because they get a lot of money for it. Athletes come in, they want a place close to the transition area. So, he rents out his house, for the athletes for the week, and he sleeps in his store, which is right next door to where you are.
Right.
So, he's probably the only person who is just like really, he's sick of your voice. Because he has to listen to it all night when he's trying to go to sleep. You are an Ironman. You are an Ironman. So, I know it's not polite to have a guest come in and tell him that there's one person who's not happy to see you every year, but he's since moved on. So,
I've had friends even, finish and go to their hotel and go, damn it, Reilly, you just kept me up till midnight. What the heck? You're driving me nuts. And people will come up and go, God, doesn't it get old? The repetitiveness of it and saying it over and over and saying congratulate, whatever I do, because there's just so many words in the arsenal of being able to, and the 4 words are the most powerful. But I say, I don't, because I know one thing for sure. That person coming in is hearing it for the very first time that day, or maybe the very first time in their lives. So I could care less how much other people may go, and I even tell the volunteers, you're going to hear a lot of stuff I say over and over again, but the athlete's hearing it for the first time, and everybody shakes their head. Oh, okay, no, it's okay. I kind of warn them. It's a long day at the finish line. Hearing what I'm saying.
Well, listen, Mike, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I really had a blast. I'm so happy you came.
My pleasure.
And look, you do a lot of great work, and it's I don't know.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Scott, because it's not work and it's not a job.
Well, you make a lot of people happy.
Good. That's all I care about.
Yeah. And it's wonderful having you here. Again, the book is Finding My Voice. You can find Mike on Twitter at Ironman Voice, and his website, again, MikeReilly.net. You can sign up to get an advance copy or the pre-order. You can pre-order his book online. And so once again, Mike, thanks again. Thanks again for coming on.
You got it, Scott. And I got one more thing to say to you.
Yeah.
You are an Ironman.
Oh, thanks, man. Oh,
got it, buddy.
I'm going to have to pre-record that and put that on a loop for the podcast. That'll be awesome. So with that, we're going to end today's show. We'll be back again next week. What a great show. I'm starstruck for like one of the first times. It's like, I don't know. I was like nervous for this one, but it went well. Anyway, so we'll see you guys next week. And always remember, when it comes to running, I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary.